G'day, Dr. Tony here with the final episode of Realms of Power for 2025. It's been a great journey this year. I've really appreciated the amazing guests that we've had on the show, and of course for the listeners who's been tuning in and giving amazing feedback. It's been an amazing experience. So what I'd like to round out this year with is some real practical advice. How do we use realms of power? How do we use some of the principles to really turn our true aligned power on, or our tap? And the toroidal activation program, who we've just released the activation series for our toroidal field, we've worked out that by really looking into our timing and looking at how our stress relates to our timing is a very key part of how you can turn your own power on. And that's the message I'd like to finish with. As we focus on celebrating Christmas, however you do that with your family and into the new year, often people will set goals. They'll start thinking, how am I going to turn my power on? What am I going to do in my physical health, my nutritional health? Often they're the goals that happen at the end of a year. And what even is a year, just in terms of a measurement we've set up? So time does change, and the power of time is where you can really look at how do you get the most out of the experience of being alive as a human in this realm. So in all the different realms, time seems to come into it, whether you're talking emotional health, your heart, your financial health, the time of finances and the environment, the degradation of the environment or the improvement of the environment over long cycles of time or short cycles of time. So again, if we go back to our toroidal flow, that donut-shaped sort of feeling and flow, we have the inner circle is about receiving energy in, and the outer circle is our boundaries and giving out, or masculine, feminine, and the flow. Time in this quantum realm does get compressed and changed. But if we look at a simple example of a day-to-day example about stress and how stress can manifest into our life, and how, just as importantly, how we handle and respond to stress and what that does physiologically in our body. And if we could improve that and get our timing right, then our stress state will be able to move through a lot quicker and return back to our parasympathetic, relaxed, calm nervous system. So let's use an example of, just say, a conversation. And in a conversation, you might get triggered. And that's an example of a stressful situation. Someone says something to you, and instead of just getting calm and centered and responding, you react, you jump on it, and your timing is wrong. You've rushed in too quickly with either judgment or blame, or trying to justify and tell your story, or whinging about something that's going on. And any of those 6 behaviors we've talked about, the judge, justify, whinge, whine, blame, or bitch, if any of those are coming in a stressful situation, then your body might end up becoming triggered and actually staying in that stressful state too long. Now let's take a step back and look at our toroidal field and what it actually is. So that's our energetic vortex in and around our field. And if someone's speaking, they're speaking into that field. Now, if our field reacts too strongly or too quickly, if we talk about time in the moment, and you end up not saying something you want to say, you can end up with one of those emotions of guilt about saying the wrong thing, shame, you've put yourself or that person down, resentment, churning, and any of those chronic stressful states can be really unhealthy in our body. So by using that toroidal flow, activating it in the moment, you can actually start feeling and sensing into those stressful situations. And in that state where you're reacting, you're jumping ahead too quickly, being able to feel into your field and allow that to come into your field because someone has said something, and then give yourself that second, that half second, that breath, and then respond rather than react. That is a brilliant way of stepping into your power. So in the 7-day toroidal activation sequence, we are training people how to do that, how to link their field to their day-to-day interactions. And that's something you can certainly jump on and have a look at if you're interested. However, in the flip side of the stressful response might be when you go into a flight mode. So you've heard of the fight or flight or freeze in the stress response. So in the flight mode, you're really running away. And that might lead to something like avoiding something you need to be doing, or procrastinating, putting it off, or literally just running away from a conversation that you can't feel like you can respond again in the way that would suit you best. So in that understanding of a stress response, we have fight, flight, or freeze as the reactions, and our response or our responsibility, or another way of saying that word, our ability to respond means that we're responding from being an on-centered, strong toroidal field place. If they pushed into our toroidal field, if someone's energetically pushed in and instead of reacting, we've just shut down, that's more the state of the freeze. You've shut down, your voice has gone dry, you've not known what to say. That's an example of not being in your power. And so our whole point of Realms of Power has been to turn your power on. And in turning your power on, that means how do we handle a stress response and how do we get our timing right? How much value is in that? How much value, oh geez, I wish I knew more about how to get my timing right. I'm pretty good, but in some people still trigger me, and some people I just have to really go, okay, if I can use these techniques right now, how much better would my interactions be? And that's part of, I guess, life and the lived experience. And it's often people the closest to you that are the ones that set you off. And that's about finding that nice balance and not being, again, in your ego. I'm better than you, so I know how to respond better than you. That's a place of ego as well. And you're not being really human in that experience. So yeah, finding an awareness of a day-to-day, how good is your timing, and using a technique like your toroidal field activation to improve your ability to handle that stress. What a win. What a win would that be if we could get our timing right? And again, if we looked at the four big themes that we've had in Realms of Power, one, being more authentic. That's just being true to yourself. So that's understanding yourself, knowing yourself, being real, not what other people say you should do, but what you are really here to do. So being authentic, and that is a state of being, right? Doing the things you love doing then is the second one. So if you're doing what you love doing, sometimes again, that might be irritating someone else or triggering someone else. So it's having the ability to do what you love doing and finding that nice balance between, is that still helping my relationships improve or step up, or am I taking away from relationships because I'm being too egocentric? So being really authentic, doing what you love doing. And the third one, of course, is have that vibration and state of having the ultimate freedom that you are going for. And how's your timing on the have? And the have, again, is that difference often between that existing life and the ideal life you're trying to create. You're trying to move towards something that might be a better future version of yourself. Some people could call that whole path enlightenment, or finding peace or joy. And it's not about having all the things. It's not about having all the money. It's not always about financial freedom. The freedom might be finding that state of bliss, being in the state of bliss. So being authentic, doing the stuff you love doing, having fun along the way, but also having that ultimate freedom. And that really is the way we live in the world. And the final one is, well, never needing to work again. And I think that if we looked at the Realms of Power power wheel, and we looked at the 12th one, which is at the top of the power wheel, is political power. I would say there's a lot of people out there right now that are saying either the financial pressure or the government pressure or the pressure from corporations puts the average person in a position where they feel like they've lost some of their sovereignty and lost some of their power. So how do we get our timing right around those things where we go, I don't want to take on the behemoth giant of the running for political office or trying to take on a corporation. So the most power, I think, again, you get there is finding your individual sovereignty, looking at your contracts, believing in your inalienable rights, and creating new contracts for yourself that is really what is in your sovereignty, what you do have power over, and what you would really like to be doing, how you would like to be living. Now, we often say, well, we want to wind back the clock and make it back in the old days. It was better and easier. There wasn't these digital controls and all of these different things. So no, unfortunately, we can't wind back the clock. This is the reality. And sometimes the compression of those things does make it a little more challenging, but it's also the compression is part of the journey to wake people up, to make people move in towards their enlightened field and go, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Or what do I stand for? And until, if you're just sitting in your comfy mattress and you're never challenged, you never really, find a situation and you're just in this comfy cruise mode attitude, well, where's the enlightenment and where's the journey in that? It'd be nice to be easy, right? We want it to be with ease and grace and flow. However, sometimes those challenges are the compression that we need to be able to reflect and look back. So let's again put that in the context of timing and stress and how we can respond rather than react in the moment. So sometimes it's about getting really calm, and that's why I keep going back to meditations. There's a lot of meditations, again, in the toroidal activation series, and I'll be putting out more meditations online, but there's so many people teaching meditation, you just have to find the right one for you. But in that meditation, that gives our mind some slowdown. I know I'm speaking fast today, but our mind some space to get calm, to listen to nature, to put your feet in the ocean, on the bare earth, ground yourself and get connected. And time becomes less relevant when you're really living in the now. When you're really being present and in the now, time becomes less important. So in the busyness of our life, in checking our phones, in dealing with emails and speaking to people that are looking at their phones and speaking to you and have multi things, being able to find that space of responding rather than reacting and giving yourself some time could be one of the real keys that helps you come out of that stress mode, gets more into that chill, gets more into that fun and that calmness and flow. And I think putting recreation time in your calendar, in your structured, busy life, if that's the way you live, putting your recreation of the things you love doing the things you love doing, makes everything just worthwhile and fun, and the journey along the way. So the timing of that is really important. And that's, again, having some meditational downtime to just look at your life and go, how can I turn my power on? How can I really step up in my physical body? How can I step up in my chemical nutrition? How can I improve my emotion? That's giving yourself the time and space to look at your power wheel, to look at your life and go, yes, I am worth it. I can make that time and I can respond rather than react. Or if I'm in the flight mode and I'm running away from something, I keep putting things off, I keep procrastinating, I keep avoiding. And it's because I'm underneath that, feel not good enough, feel there's a lack, feel there's something missing from me. I'm not worthy, I'm not being seen. And and in those behaviors, that's where you do have to take your action. You do have to, we don't have to do anything. If you choose to not avoid that and move into that and step into that, that is turning on your power. And power, remember, goes up and down. It's a state of going up and down, and finding that awareness of what your state is really at can be really helpful, and understanding where that field is, and that it's not that I'm broken, is that my field is being challenged. It's either being pushed in and compressed and overloaded. It's either stuck in its flow, or it's really just not receiving and allowing input back into my nervous system. That's really a great awareness of your own power center. So we have our central vortex, our heart, and we can call it our chakras, our mind, our throat, our voice, our wisdom, our heart, our solar plexus, our gut, our root chakra. And those chakra centers are the energy centers of our body. And if people are being pushed into one of those centers, or if we're holding energy in that field, that's again another example of where we could be strengthening our field and allowing more of the state of ideal freedom, the having of the ultimate freedom. And what a beautiful journey that we're on, really, if we looked at our time of the start of our life to the end of our life and each moment we have. A lot of people feel guilty over wasting time, wasting the heartbeats we have. And what they should do, I should do this, I should do that. Well, sovereignty is all about us standing in our power. And there are going to be influences on us from the people around us, our community, those government corporations, that we're living in a society. But really, our own power is within. That life force, that light, that innate spark is within you. And your power comes from recognizing that in the moment and how we associate that with time, with moving forward. So getting our timing right all of a sudden becomes one of the best tools we could possibly have in the moment. Am I rushing in here? Do I need to act here? Am I stuck here? How do I move forward out of that trap? And that is the link to the stressed nervous system. So as a chiropractor for 25 years, I've been dealing with the alignment of the nervous system, and it still blows me away how people are not aware of the impact of their own nervous system being out of alignment through simple things like bad posture, like stress, like repetitive movements. And when we have any input pressure on our nerve system, our brain can't communicate with our body as well. So what a message that is, really, just to understand the full extent of how our body works. And why we don't get taught that is really being put on us again through these overlays of corporations. So sovereignty comes back to having the belief, the faith and belief in the power of the body to heal itself. And one of my number one principles that goes in alignment with chiropractic is that the body heals itself. And it does that way better when it's in alignment. I think most people really believe that when challenged about it, but they don't live their life like that. So the light becomes, how do I get my own body to heal itself? What have I got to do to keep myself in alignment? And sure, if my spine is out of alignment and I need assistance getting it in alignment with a great specific chiropractic adjustment, that can definitely help. But let's look at the real big principle of trusting in your body's ability to heal itself. And right there, that is sovereignty. So anytime you're taking medication, you're taking other things that aren't just like naturally good for your body to relieve a symptom, you're not really fully trusting in the body's ability to heal itself. Now, there is a time and a place for emergency medicine, right? And that's where timing is so important again. But really just understanding that they're a temporary measure, that you've got to get yourself back in alignment so your organs and glands are producing the body chemistry your body needs to be at full power. What a way to live. So that's why I've just been so passionate about the chiropractic message of trusting the body to heal itself and doing that better by being in alignment. So when you add in the energetic toroidal flow, and again, people think that might be a little bit woo-woo, a little bit out there. Really, it's not. It's just your body's field. Your heart, if it's alive, has a life force, and it emanates electromagnetic energy, and that's what spins and cycles the blood around your body. Most people are aware of that. So how do we power that up? how do we optimize our own body's ability to heal itself, is really comes back to timing and how well you can handle stress, whether that's a physical stressor, a chemical stressor, an emotional stressor, a financial stressor, a cardio heart stressor, an environmental stressor, a spiritual stressor, an innate stressor, a relationship stressor, a mental stressor, a purpose or life purpose stress, or a political or governmental stress. That's the power wheel in a nutshell. How well our body can handle stress and to turn our power on in any one of those realms. Well, look, it's been a great journey this year. I'm really looking forward to 2026. We've got some amazing projects. We'll obviously keep going with our podcast, hopefully a weekly episode with some amazing guests. And sometimes we're going to get some repeat guests come back because we've had such brilliant speakers. And we're running our first Realms of Power retreat in May in the Sunshine Coast. That'll be a chiropractic specific one, but we'll be doing other retreats, I'm sure, in the future with the great team we've built around us. The toroidal activation sequence, I think, is so valuable and so powerful to connect your own energetic field and have that link to meditations and calm and chill stress to find that state of peace and joy and freedom. So have a look at that if you haven't already. The 7-day activation sequence is available, and the 22-day one will be released later in January for those wanting to immerse themselves a bit further in that work and do some personal coaching with us as well and the team. So there's some of the amazing projects we've got going on. Again, such a beautiful message of gratitude to all of the guests we've had on the show. And for the future guests that we haven't had yet and the repeat guests, thank you again for potentially making 2026 an amazing year for the Realms of Power team. And for everyone that supported me in the back end and helped this become a reality, I really appreciate and thank you for all your help. For the listeners, this really is the heart of this program. It's what I'm here to do. And I said right at one of the very first episodes, if I could just help one person turn their power on, this program would be worth it. And I know for sure, in me listening to my own episodes, I've turned my own power on. So it's a win for me, but I know there's been other great people on the show and had some great feedback. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And once again, to help spread this message by sharing these episodes with someone who you think might really benefit. We only want to speak to the people that want to hear this. So if you turn it off, if it's not for you, that's totally cool. I want to help people that are in alignment with turning their own power on, becoming more sovereign, being more coherent, getting their timing right, and turning their power on. So thanks for tuning in. Have an awesome day. See ya. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Realms of Power. I have such gratitude for your time and energy and the vision to join us with turning your true aligned power on. To take your power up another level, you could share this episode with someone who you think would benefit, or make a comment online that would help us get this information out there. We'd really appreciate your love and support. Hope you have an awesome day. See ya.